Jack Mercer stood at the edge of the spaceport platform and watched the alien ship grow larger against the black sky. The Thalorian Royal flagship was nothing like the human ships he had worked on. It looked like a giant silver bird with crystal wings. Its surface glowed with soft blue light, and strange symbols moved like living water across its hull. Jack was nervous but also curious. He was a simple orbital engineer from Earth, but today he was starting a cultural exchange program with the Thalorian Empire. Earth's leaders had told him it was a great honor. He would live aboard the royal flagship for a year, helping improve its jump drive system. The pay was good, the chance to learn was even better, and Jack had always dreamed of seeing another world. What Jack did not know was that the Thalorian Empire had very different ideas about what a cultural exchange meant. Far above the spaceport, inside the flagship's throne chamber, Princess Scylla waited. She stood on a raised platform made of living crystal. Her long silver hair floated behind her like strands of light. Her eyes were bright green with golden lines. Around her stood her advisors, tall alien figures wearing flowing robes that shifted colors with their moods. To Scylla, this day was exciting. She believed she was finally going to meet a human male, a creature she had been told existed only to serve and delight her kind. Ancient records from first contact had been mistranslated. In the Thalorian language, the word ambassador had been confused with attendant. As a result, Scylla had grown up believing that human men were property gifted to alien royalty. She turned to her chief advisor, Vara. He will be obedient, yes? The human? Vara bowed. Of course, Princess. He was sent by his own people. He will be eager to please. Scylla smiled, a graceful but proud smile. Then today will be the beginning of my cultural study. I will teach him his proper place. Meanwhile, Jack was stepping into the docking corridor. The walls were smooth and warm under his hands. He felt a strange vibration as if the ship itself was alive. Alien guards with insect-like armor guided him down a hall glowing with violet light. He was brought to a large chamber full of crystal columns. In the center stood Princess Scylla. She looked taller than Jack had expected, her presence almost overwhelming. Her voice was musical but also sharp. "Human male," she said, "you stand in the presence of Scylla, Princess of the Thalorian Empire. You have been brought here for my personal study." Jack blinked. He had rehearsed polite greetings, but this wasn't what he'd expected. Hello. I'm Jack Mercer. I'm here to work on your jump drive." Scylla tilted her head. "Work? No. You are here to serve me." The room grew very quiet. Alien eyes watched Jack closely. He could feel the tension. He had two choices: go along or stand his ground. Jack took a breath. "I think there's been some misunderstanding. Earth sent me to help with your ship's systems, not to be anyone's servant." The advisors gasped softly. No one had ever spoken to the princess that way. Scylla's eyes narrowed. "Do you deny me?" Jack stayed calm. "I respect you, Princess, but I'm not property. I'm a guest and a worker. I'm happy to share my skills, but only as an equal." There was another silence. The alien guards shifted uncomfortably. Vara whispered something to Scylla in their own language. Scylla's mind was full of questions. She had never heard a human speak this way. Her tutors had told her that humans desired to please and obey. But here was this man, standing tall and polite but firm, refusing to be treated as a thing. "You are bold," Scylla finally said. "Perhaps too bold." Jack tried to smile. "Where I come from, we believe in mutual respect. Maybe I can show you how humans really are." Scylla waved her hand. "Leave us," she ordered her guards and advisors. They bowed and left the chamber, leaving Jack alone with her. For a long moment, Scylla circled him slowly, like a scientist examining a rare creature. Her robes rustled like wind in a crystal forest. She was curious now. "You are not afraid?" she asked. Jack shrugged. "A little. This is all new to me, but fear won't help either of us." Scylla studied his face. It was different from the hologram she had seen. His eyes were steady, not downcast. His posture showed no shame. He looked at her as if she were a person, not a goddess. "This will be interesting," she said softly. Jack felt a small sense of relief. At least she wasn't ordering him into chains. "Good, because I'm sure we can learn a lot from each other." Scylla returned to her platform. She pressed her hand against a glowing panel, and a new door opened on the far side of the chamber. "You will be shown your quarters," she said, "and tomorrow you will begin your work on my ship. But understand this: you are under my protection. No one will harm you without my permission." Jack bowed slightly, not as a servant but as a sign of respect. "Thank you, Princess. That's all I ask." Later, in his assigned quarters, Jack sat on a strange floating chair and tried to make sense of what had happened. The room was beautiful. Soft glowing walls, a view of the stars, air that smelled like clean rain. But he could feel the tension in the air. He remembered the look in her eyes. It wasn't just arrogance. It was also confusion and curiosity. If he played this right, maybe he could correct the misunderstanding between their species. But if he made one wrong move, he could end up as a prisoner, or worse. Meanwhile, Scylla sat alone in her private chamber. She thought about the human. She replayed his words in her mind. "I'm not property." The phrase was strange but powerful. It echoed in her head, making her doubt what she had been taught since childhood. She opened a secret file on her hollow panel, the original records from the first contact with Earth. The text shimmered in alien script. As she read, she realized there were many gaps and errors. Could it be that everything she had believed about humans was wrong? Scylla felt a mix of anger and excitement. If the human was right, then she had been lied to by her own court. And if he was wrong, then he was either brave or foolish. Either way, she would learn the truth. She looked out at the stars beyond the window. "Jack Mercer," she whispered, testing the name on her tongue. "You are not what I expected." The next day would be the true start of their clash of cultures. But for now, the princess of the Thalorian Empire and the engineer from Earth sat in separate rooms on the same ship, both wondering who the other really was, and both sensing that their lives were about to change. The next morning, the flagship drifted near a pale blue nebula. Its light shone through the windows of Jack Mercer's quarters, making the walls glow. Jack woke early. He had not slept much. He kept thinking about the princess and the strange way she had spoken to him. He splashed water on his face, or what passed for water in the alien ship. It smelled faintly of mint and left a soft film on his skin. He put on his work jumpsuit and checked his toolkit. Today he would finally see the ship's jump drive system. This was the real reason he had come. Outside his quarters, 2 alien guards waited. They wore armor that shimmered like insect wings. Their eyes were hidden behind curved masks. One of them spoke in a calm voice. "The princess awaits you in the engineering sector." Jack followed them through long corridors lined with crystal panels. He noticed every detail: floating drones cleaning the air, symbols that changed color as he passed, and small alien children peeking out from behind doors. He realized the flagship was not just a warship, it was also a moving city. When they reached the engineering sector, Jack's eyes widened. The jump drive was huge, a sphere of liquid light floating between magnetized rings. Energy pulsed through channels like rivers of plasma. Alien technicians in silver robes moved silently around it, touching panels with long, delicate fingers. Princess Scylla stood on a balcony above the drive. Her robes were darker today, lined with gold. She looked serious. Vera, her chief advisor, stood beside her, watching Jack with narrow eyes. "Human male," Scylla said. "Today you will work. Show me what you can do." Jack nodded. "Please call me Jack, I'll do my best." He moved to a console and studied the readings. Even without full translation, he could see a problem. The phase stabilizers were out of alignment. He tapped, a few buttons on his wrist tablet projecting a holographic diagram. "This part is running too hot," he explained calmly. "If you keep using it, you'll risk a cascade failure." The alien technicians looked at each other, unsure whether to believe him. Vera whispered to Scylla, He presumes much. Scylla raised her hand for silence. Continue, human. Jack climbed onto a platform near the stabilizer. He opened a panel with a small tool. Sparks danced around his gloves, but he stayed steady. He adjusted the energy coils one by one, humming to himself. After a few minutes, the pulsing light of the drive became smoother. One alien technician gasped. Another whispered, "He fixed it." Scylla's eyes narrowed with surprise. "How did you know to do that?" Jack climbed down. "Energy systems are the same everywhere. You just have to respect the physics." A small smile touched her lips. "Respect," she repeated softly. Vara frowned. "Princess, this human is dangerous. He undermines our order. He refuses your command, yet you reward him?" Scylla ignored Vara and spoke to Jack. "You have skill, perhaps more than I expected. But skill does not change your status." Jack met her gaze calmly. "Status is less important than trust. If you trust me, I can help you make this ship safer." Scylla turned away, hiding her confusion. She had been taught that humans were simple creatures who liked being told what to do. But Jack was neither simple nor obedient. He was steady. The flagship glided silently through the nebula, its hull glowing softly as it absorbed the energy from the surrounding plasma clouds. Jack Mercer walked along the corridors toward the mission briefing room. His mind was alert, knowing that today would be a real test. Scylla had assigned him a field mission, a dangerous retrieval of a rare energy crystal from a moon with an unstable surface. He had no illusions. This was more than a technical task. It was a test of loyalty and courage, meant to see if he would follow her commands without question. When he entered the briefing room, Scylla was already there, standing with her arms folded. The room was vast, with holographic star maps floating in mid-air. Behind her, Vara and several military advisors observed him silently. "Human," Scylla said, her voice calm but commanding. "You are to retrieve a crystal from the moon Shira 9. It is dangerous. Many before you have failed. Consider this a test of your loyalty and skill." Jack looked at the holographic map of the moon. Jagged mountain peaks pierced its surface, and frequent volcanic eruptions were indicated by flickering red markers. "Understood," he said. "But I want to clarify. This mission is dangerous, yes, but I don't work as someone's servant. I work as an engineer and problem solver. That is how I help." Scylla studied him. There was a mixture of irritation and curiosity in her eyes. "You are bold," she said. "Very well. Show me what you are worth." Jack suited up in a reinforced environmental suit. The guards led him to a small shuttle. Its surface was sleek, almost living, with faintly glowing lines of energy running along the hull. As he climbed aboard, he could hear the hum of the flagship fading behind him. The shuttle shot through space with a graceful pulse, slipping between asteroid fields and magnetic storms. Jack checked the systems, noting the minor instabilities in the navigation arrays. He corrected them with careful taps on his wrist tablet. Even here, far from the ship, he felt a small thrill. His human ingenuity was in action, and it worked. The moon Shira 9 loomed ahead, jagged and hostile. Smoke spiraled from volcanic fissures, and lightning arced between clouds of sulfurous gas. Jack adjusted the shuttle's shields, keeping it just above the rocky surface. He scanned for the energy crystal, a faint glow beneath a narrow canyon. Landing was tricky. The shuttle's stabilizers groaned under the uneven terrain. Jack carefully maneuvered, feeling the pulse of the engines respond to every tiny adjustment. He stepped out, feeling the strange gravity press down on him. Dust swirled around his boots, and the air smelled like ozone and molten rock. The crystal was visible in the canyon below. It glowed with a steady blue light, but the path was filled with hazards, unstable rock, sudden geysers of molten gas, and deep crevices. Jack studied the terrain, calculating the safest route. He moved slowly, carefully, using his engineering tools to bridge gaps and stabilize rocks. Halfway to the crystal, the ground trembled violently. A fissure opened beneath him, and Jack leaped to safety, landing on a jagged ledge. His heart raced. He realized that this mission was designed to see if he would follow blindly, but Jack relied on observation and logic, not obedience. Meanwhile, back on the flagship, Scylla monitored the mission through a telepresence feed. Her eyes were sharp as she watched Jack navigate the terrain. Vara whispered beside her, "He may survive, Princess, but he does not obey." This is dangerous. His defiance may cost him his life. Sila's mind worked quickly. Part of her expected Jack to fail. But another part, an unfamiliar part, admired his calm focus. He was human, yet unafraid, clever, and decisive. Perhaps he was more than she had imagined. On the moon, Jack reached the crystal. It was larger than he expected, floating slightly above a pedestal of natural rock. Energy pulsed in waves, and the air shimmered around it. As he approached, he realized the pedestal was unstable. If he touched the crystal carelessly, it could trigger a volcanic eruption. Jack analyzed the forces acting on the pedestal. Using a combination of tether cables and magnetic clamps, he stabilized the crystal. Then he carefully lifted it into a containment field built into his shuttle. Every movement was calculated. One wrong step and the mission would fail. At that moment, a tremor shook the canyon. A rock slide threatened to block his path back. Jack acted quickly, using small explosive charges to redirect the falling rocks. The canyon shifted and the crystal remained safe. Jack smiled faintly. Human problem-solving had saved the day. Back on the flagship, Sila and Vara watched the final moments on the feed. The crystal floated safely in Jack's shuttle. Sila's hands were folded behind her back. She spoke softly, almost to herself. He did it? Without fear, without obedience. Only with skill, Vara scowled. Princess, he is too independent. Others may copy him. It is dangerous to your rule. Sila turned sharply. No, that is why he is valuable. Independence is strength, not weakness. I see that now. Jack returned to the flagship with the crystal. The landing went smoothly, and the guards escorted him to Sila's chamber. The crystal glowed softly, casting blue light over the walls. Jack set it down carefully. Sila stepped forward. You survived, she said. Her voice carried more admiration than command this time. Jack nodded. It was dangerous, yes, but careful observation and planning make all the difference. I am here to help, not to obey blindly. Sila's eyes met his. You are not like anyone I have ever known. You challenge everything I was taught about humans, and yet, you saved my ship and my crew without hesitation. That is remarkable, Jack shrugged modestly. I do what I can. Every human values life and problem-solving. That is how we survive. Sila turned to Vara. Record this. The human demonstrates courage and wisdom. This must be acknowledged. Vara hesitated but nodded. He understood the significance. Jack was changing not only Sila's perspective but also the court's understanding of humans. That night, Jack returned to his quarters. He cleaned his tools and made notes about the moon and the crystal's energy. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, perhaps more tests of loyalty, perhaps more attempts to undermine him. Yet he felt something he had not expected, a sense of accomplishment and respect. Not from everyone on the ship, but from the princess herself. She had begun to see him as more than a servant or a curiosity. She had begun to see him as an equal. Sila, in her private chamber, could not sleep. She replayed the events of the mission in her mind. Jack had not only survived but excelled. He had shown ingenuity, calmness, and courage. These were qualities she had admired in leaders of her own species, yet never in humans, until now. She realized something profound. The stories she had been told about human men were false. They were not creatures meant only for service. They were capable, independent, and wise. Sila whispered, Perhaps I misjudged your kind, Jack Mercer. Perhaps there is more to humans than I imagined. Unknown to both Jack and Sila, Lord Terran, the rival noble, had also been watching the mission through intercepted feeds. His face twisted in rage as he realized that Jack's success and independence only strengthened the princess's admiration for him. This cannot stand, Terran muttered. If he survives and grows stronger in her eyes, my influence will be destroyed. I must act before it is too late. A shadow of danger now moved within the court. Jack had proven himself on the moon, but his journey aboard the Thalorian flagship was far from over. The flagship hummed quietly as it drifted through a dense asteroid field. Jack Mercer moved along the corridors, his mind alert. He had just returned from Shira 9 with the rare energy crystal. His success had won Princess Sila's respect, but not everyone in the court was pleased. Lord Terran, the rival noble, had not forgotten the embarrassment of Jack's independent actions. In secret, he had arranged to capture Jack and remove him from the court entirely. Jack was unaware of the threat as he approached the engineering sector. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Alarms echoed through the halls. He instinctively ducked behind a console as several armored figures stormed the corridor. Their masks and armor were unfamiliar, Terran's personal enforcers. "Jack Mercer," a voice hissed through the communicator. "You are coming with us." Jack's mind raced. He had no weapons except his tools and his knowledge of the ship. He needed a plan, fast. Using the commotion, Jack triggered an emergency lock on the doors. The enforcers tried to override it, but Jack had anticipated this possibility. He activated a secondary control panel, sending the doors into a brief lockout sequence. The enforcers shouted in frustration. Jack moved quickly, picking up a maintenance drone nearby. It was small, round, and agile, with basic tools attached. He reprogrammed it to patrol the corridor ahead, giving him a small advantage. As the drone moved forward, it tripped alarms that confused the enforcers, buying him precious seconds. He reached a maintenance hatch and crawled into the narrow service tunnel. The air was hot and smelled faintly of ozone. He followed the tunnel toward the ship's lower decks, using the shuttle schematic he had memorized. Meanwhile, on her observation platform, Princess Scylla had noticed the unusual power fluctuations. Her green-gold eyes widened as she realized Jack was in danger. "Vara," she called sharply. "Something is wrong." "Where is Jack?" Vara hesitated, but Scylla's sharp tone demanded action. "He is perhaps exploring a restricted area, Princess," he stammered. Scylla's eyes flashed. "No, someone is interfering with him." She tapped her wrist panel, activating a telepresence. The flagship glided silently through the void, its lights reflecting off distant stars. Jack Mercer stood on the observation deck, studying the vast map of nearby systems. He could see clusters of planets and asteroid fields, each marked with unknown variables. Something had changed. The Thalorian Empire was no longer merely curious about humans. It was preparing for a potential conflict. Princess Scylla appeared beside him, her robes flowing softly. "Jack," she said, "we have received reports of a rogue faction building an army near the Outer Rim. They plan to attack human colonies and exploit the situation for their gain." Jack studied the report. "So it's not just internal court politics anymore. This is serious. They could destroy entire systems if we don't act." Scylla nodded. "Yes, that is why I need your help. Your perspective, your strategies, are different from anything my advisors know. We need both human ingenuity and Thalorian resources." Jack smiled faintly. "Then let's form an alliance, humans and Thalorians together." "Equal partners," Scylla hesitated. "Equal? You propose equal?" "Yes," Jack replied. "We each have strengths. If we combine them, we can prevent this war before it begins." Scylla considered him carefully. She had seen Jack's courage and intelligence firsthand. His independent thinking had saved her flagship and her people. "Very well," she said. "We will do it your way." The next day, Jack and Scylla convened a council with selected human and Thalorian officers. The room was filled with alien figures in flowing robes and human officers in sleek, practical uniforms. Holographic maps floated in the center, showing enemy positions and fleet movements. Jack spoke first. "We cannot rely solely on force. We need strategy, intelligence, and preparation. Their strength is in numbers, but they lack coordination. We can exploit that." The Thalorian advisors exchanged skeptical glances. Vara, as usual, muttered, "The human underestimates the complexity of war." "These creatures are not trained like us," Scylla raised a hand. "Quiet, listen to him. His perspective is valuable," Jack continued, outlining a plan that combined human tactical maneuvers with Thalorian technology. They would use small, agile ships to disrupt enemy supply lines, while the main Thalorian fleet would remain in reserve. It was a balance of patience, cunning, and precision. The officers murmured among themselves, impressed despite their doubts. Scylla watched Jack closely. He had a way of explaining complex ideas simply yet effectively. She realized that humans were not only capable of thinking independently, but also of teaching others in ways her own people sometimes struggled to understand. Meanwhile, Terran, the rival noble, seethed in his private quarters. Jack's growing influence was now a threat to him, and to anyone who wished to manipulate the princess. He sent secret messages to allies encouraging them to resist Jack's influence. But Jack's success and Scylla's trust made it difficult for Terran to act openly. "You may plan, Terran," Scylla thought privately, "but courage and skill will always outweigh fear and scheming." The fleet moved toward the Outer Rim under Jack and Scylla's combined guidance. Jack had requested a small reconnaissance team to scout enemy positions. Using Thalorian stealth technology combined with human sensors, they moved undetected through asteroid fields and dark regions of space. Jack's mind was sharp, calculating risks and predicting enemy reactions. He instructed his team carefully. Do not engage unless necessary. Gather information, then return. Every decision matters. The team successfully mapped the enemy supply routes, uncovering weak points. This intelligence was vital. Jack presented the data to Scylla and the fleet commanders. The Thalorian leaders were impressed. This human sees patterns we overlooked, one officer admitted quietly. Scylla's eyes shone with pride. He is right. Humans have abilities that complement ours. We must work together. The first engagement was unexpected. The rogue faction launched a surprise attack on a small human colony. Jack's plan was put to the test. Using their combined fleets, they intercepted the attackers. Small, agile human ships moved quickly to flank the enemy, while Thalorian energy weapons provided precision strikes. Jack coordinated the attack from the flagship, sending instructions in real time. His calm, logical commands kept the fleet organized even under fire. The enemy, expecting chaos and confusion, was thrown off balance by the coordination between humans and Thalorians. Scylla watched from the command bridge, her heart racing. She had never seen her fleet operate so smoothly. The humans were not just allies. They brought a perspective that enhanced her entire empire's strategy. After a tense few hours, the enemy retreated, their supply lines disrupted and morale shaken. The combined forces had won without unnecessary destruction. Jack allowed himself a small smile. This is just the beginning, he said. Back in the flagship's council room, Scylla addressed her advisors. You see now, humans are not merely subordinates or curiosities. They are capable, intelligent, and valuable partners. Jack Mercer has proven this. Some advisors bowed, still cautious, but many nodded in agreement. The success of the first mission could not be denied. Jack stepped forward. We have demonstrated cooperation works, but this is only a single engagement. The rogue faction will regroup. We need continuous vigilance and trust between our peoples. Scylla's voice was firm. And you will be part of this vigilance, not as a servant, not as a guest, but as an equal. Your skills, your judgment, and your courage, all will be valued equally with Thalorian officers. Jack nodded, understanding the magnitude of her words. This was more than personal respect. It was a shift in the relationship between two species. That night, Jack returned to his quarters. He reflected on the events of the day. The humans and Thalorians had acted as equals, combining strengths to prevent bloodshed. Jack realized that HFY, the human spirit, ingenuity, and ethical reasoning, was beginning to reshape the Thalorian Empire's understanding of his species. Scylla, in her chamber, studied the mission logs and reports from the field. She was amazed at how effectively Jack had guided the human and Thalorian teams. More than that, she felt a growing admiration for his calm confidence and independence. He had challenged her assumptions and she had learned from him. This is more than partnership, she whispered to herself. It is respect. It is understanding. It is trust. Meanwhile, Terran's anger had not diminished. His plots had failed and Jack's influence grew stronger every day. The noble knew that subtle schemes would no longer work. If he wanted power, he would have to act openly. But for now, Jack and Scylla had forged an alliance that could withstand internal opposition and external threats. Together, they had prevented the first wave of attacks and set a new standard for cooperation between humans and Thalorians. As the flagship drifted through a quiet sector of space, Jack and Scylla stood side by side on the observation deck. Stars shimmered around them and the calm hum of the ship filled the silence. Jack broke the quiet. We've made progress today, but this is just the beginning. The rogue faction will adapt and so must we. Scylla nodded. Yes, but I trust you, Jack. Your judgment has been proven. You are not merely a guest, not merely an advisor. You are a partner. Jack smiled faintly. Then we'll face the future together. Scylla's gaze swept across the stars. Together, she repeated. The word felt strange on her tongue, but powerful. For the first time in her life, Scylla realized that humans were not subservient creatures, and Jack Mercer was not a simple guest. He was a symbol of a new era, one of mutual respect, cooperation, and shared strength. The flagship moved steadily through a sector of space filled with debris from past conflicts. Jack Mercer stood on the observation deck, studying the incoming messages. Reports from scouts indicated the rogue faction's main fleet was gathering near a dense asteroid belt. The numbers were staggering, more ships than the Thalorian Empire had encountered in decades. Princess Scylla joined him, her expression calm but determined. "Jack," she said, "this is the moment. If we fail, colonies will be destroyed and the Empire's influence will crumble. But I have faith in your judgment. Together we can succeed," Jack nodded. "We've prepared for this. The enemy expects brute force, but we have strategy, intelligence, and coordination. They won't see us coming." Scylla's green-gold eyes met his. "Then let us show them the strength of trust between two species." The fleet approached the asteroid belt with caution. Jack guided the smaller human strike teams, instructing them to use stealth and terrain to their advantage. Scylla commanded the main Thalorian fleet, energy weapons at the ready. Communication flowed seamlessly, a perfect blend of human adaptability and Thalorian precision. Jack identified weak points in the enemy formation. "Use the narrow channels in the belt to divide their fleet," he instructed. "Hit supply ships first, cut off reinforcements, then force their main fleet to retreat." The fleet moved like a single organism, human and Thalorian ships weaving between asteroids, striking at supply vessels and pulling back before the enemy could respond. The rogue faction, confident in their numbers, found themselves disoriented and frustrated. During the battle, Terran watched from the flagship's inner chamber, his anger and fear mounting. He had hoped to see Jack fail or be eliminated. Instead, Jack's strategies were winning the day. "This human," Terran muttered, "he has not only survived but thrived. He undermines everything I have built." But Terran's plots could not stop what was happening. The Alliance,